The sound of the chair scraping against the cafe floor was louder than the humiliation burning in her chest. All eyes turned toward the corner table near the window in downtown Chicago, where Hannah sat frozen, her fingers trembling against the edge of a white porcelain plate. The man across from her, Tyler, had just leaned back with a smirk that felt sharper than any insult. He hadn't raised his voice, but he didn't need to. His words were clear enough for the surrounding tables to hear. He had actually laughed at the idea of a second date. In that moment, Hannah felt smaller than she ever had in her 29 years. Her green dress suddenly felt too tight, too loud, too wrong. The effort she had put into curling her hair that morning now seemed foolish. Around her, forks paused mid-air. A couple at the next table pretended not to stare. A barista glanced over and quickly looked away. What would you do if that were you? If someone decided, in front of strangers, that you weren't enough? Would you fight back? Or would you shrink, like she did? Tyler shook his head and muttered something about wasting time, pushing his chair back as if he couldn't leave fast enough. The blind date had been set up by mutual friends who had promised he was kind, successful, mature. Instead, he had spent the evening picking apart her job as a social worker, questioning her modest apartment in Aurora, and suggesting she aim higher in life. And now he was standing, adjusting his jacket, ready to walk out. Hannah felt the sting of tears press behind her eyes. She reached for her purse, desperate to escape before the first tear betrayed her. Her mind raced with memories she thought she had buried, her ex-fiancé leaving after telling her she lacked ambition, her father's quiet disappointment when she chose a career helping children instead of chasing a corporate salary, the endless comparisons to friends who seemed to glide through life effortlessly. The cafe door chimed as Tyler stepped away from the table. But someone else did not. Across from her, at the adjacent table, a man who had been sitting alone stood up. His name was Marcus. He had noticed everything. Marcus wasn't dressed as sharply as Tyler. His navy blazer was slightly wrinkled, and his dark hair looked like it had been combed with his fingers instead of a mirror. He had come to the cafe after a long shift at a construction site in Naperville, planning to review blueprints and head home to his small house in Oak Park. He hadn't meant to witness someone's heartbreak. But he had. And he couldn't pretend he hadn't. Hannah stood abruptly, nearly knocking over her water glass. She kept her gaze low, hoping to slip past the tables unnoticed, her heart pounding so loudly she thought others might hear it. Then she felt a gentle but steady presence in front of her. Marcus stepped into her path, not blocking her in a threatening way, but standing there as if to shield her from the room. He didn't grab her arm. He didn't speak loudly. He simply looked at her with eyes that held no judgment. For a second, she thought he might be about to embarrass her further. What if someone you didn't even know stopped you in your most fragile moment? Would you push them away? Or would you hope, secretly, that they were there to help? Marcus said something quietly, words meant only for her, not for the audience that had witnessed her humiliation. His tone was calm, almost protective. He told her she didn't deserve that. That no one did. That she shouldn't leave believing what Tyler implied. Hannah shook her head, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. She insisted she was fine, even though her voice betrayed her. The old instinct to minimize her pain kicked in. Don't make a scene. Don't cause trouble. Don't take up space. But Marcus didn't move. He turned slightly toward the room instead, his posture firm but composed, as if silently challenging anyone who thought her humiliation was entertainment. The tension shifted. The stares softened. A woman at another table offered Hannah a small, supportive smile. Marcus asked if she would sit back down, not for Tyler, not for anyone else, but for herself. He offered to buy her coffee. He promised it wouldn't be awkward. He just didn't want her to leave feeling like she had been measured and found lacking. Something in his voice, steady, sincere, unpolished made her pause. So she sat. The world didn't collapse. The cafe didn't erupt in whispers. Life continued. Cups clinked. The door chimed again as new customers entered. Marcus didn't rush to fill the silence with charm. He simply listened. And slowly, Hannah spoke. She told him about the children she worked with in foster care. About the late nights completing paperwork so siblings wouldn't be separated. About the boy named Jacob who had finally smiled after months of silence. She confessed how tired she was of being told that her job wasn't impressive enough, her income wasn't high enough, her dreams weren't grand enough. Marcus listened as if each word mattered. He told her about growing up in Detroit, about his mother working 2 jobs to keep the lights on, about how success, to him, meant stability and integrity, not flashy restaurants or expensive watches. He admitted he hadn't gone to college right away, that he had made mistakes in his early 20s, that he once believed he wasn't worthy of anything good. But he had rebuilt. Brick by brick. And now he built houses for families who needed second chances. As they talked, the sting of humiliation began to fade, replaced by something quieter and more powerful, validation. For the first time in years, Hannah felt seen, not assessed, not compared, not judged. Just seen. Outside, the late afternoon sun dipped lower over Chicago's skyline, casting golden light through the cafe windows. The same space that had moments ago felt suffocating now felt strangely warm. Marcus never asked for her number that night. He simply walked her to her car, making sure she felt steady before she drove home. Before leaving, he told her something she would carry with her long after the evening ended. He said that rejection is often projection, that sometimes people dismiss what intimidates them, what challenges their narrow definitions of worth. He said she shouldn't shrink to fit someone else's small imagination. Weeks passed. Hannah returned to her routine, but something had shifted. She carried herself differently at work. She spoke up more during meetings. When a colleague joked about her bleeding heart career, she didn't laugh it off. She explained, calmly and confidently, why her work mattered. And one evening, she found herself thinking about the man who refused to let her walk away believing a lie. She reached out. Their first real date wasn't in a trendy downtown cafe. It was at a small park in Oak Park, where they shared sandwiches and stories under a wide Midwestern sky. There were no audiences, no performances. Just 2 people who understood that dignity is sacred. Marcus never tried to rescue Hannah. He simply reminded her she didn't need rescuing. Years later, on a quiet Sunday afternoon, they returned to that same Chicago cafe. The tables were rearranged. The barista was different. But the memory lingered. Hannah stood where she once felt humiliated, now stronger, steadier. She squeezed Marcus's hand, gratitude swelling in her chest. That public rejection, once her lowest moment, had become the doorway to something unexpected and beautiful. And maybe that's the truth we forget when we're wounded in front of others. Sometimes the worst moment of your life is simply the beginning of a better one. Before this story ends, tell me in the comments, have you ever been rejected in a way that made you question your worth? Because if this story stirred something inside you, if it reminded you that kindness can change the course of someone's life, then please like, share, comment, and subscribe, but only if it truly touched your heart.